Good day, everyone. So our lesson for this day is about the trigonometric equations. Our learning outcomes at the end of the lesson, the student is able to solve trigonometric equations and solve situational problems involving trigonometric equations. Ang lesson outline natin is about the definition of trigonometric equation, solution to a trigonometric equation, techniques of solving a trigonometric equation. We have studied equations in the lesson 7. We differentiated an identity from a conditional equation. Recall that an identity is an equation that is true for all values of the variable in the domain of the equation, while a conditional equation is an equation that is not an identity. In this lesson, we mostly study conditional trigonometric equations and explores the techniques of solving conditional trigonometric equations. Okay, formally, by a definition of some terms in a trigonometric equation, any equation that involves trigonometric expression is called a trigonometric equation. We call that a solution or a root of an equation is a number in the domain of the equation that, when substituted to the variable, makes the equation true. Then the set of all solution of an equation is called the solution set of the equation. Technically, the basic method to show that a particular number is a solution of an equation is to substitute the number to the variable and see if the equation becomes true. However, we may use our knowledge gained from the previous lessons to do a quicker verification process by not doing the manual substitution and checking. So meron din tayong mga tips in solving trigonometric equation. First, if the equation contains only one trigonometric term, isolate the term and solve for the variable. Second tip, if the equation is quadratic in form, we may use factoring, finding square roots, or the quadratic formula. Third tips, rewrite the equation to have 0 on one side and then factor if appropriate the expression on the other side. Number 4, if the equation contains more than one trigonometric function, try to express everything in terms of one trigonometric function. Here, identities are useful. And for the last tip, if half or multiple angles are present, express them in terms of a trigonometric expression of a single angle, except when all angles involved have the same multiplicity, wherein in this case retain the angle, half angle, and double angle identities are useful in this simplification. Okay, let's cite an example for equations with one term. Solve the equation 2 cosine x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, for the solution, the given equation is equivalent to cosine x equals 1/2. Kasi di ba pag transpose natin tong negative 1 sa right side, magiging positive 1. Magiging positive 1 yon. Then, ito namang nasa left side, pwede mo siyang i-over 2. Ganon din yung nasa right side, pwede mo siyang i-over 2. So therefore, ang matitira lang sa left ay ang cosine x equals 1/2. Okay? On the interval 0 less than or equal x less than or equal 2 pi, there are only two solutions of the last equation. So, pwedeng magkaroon tayo ng two solutions dito sa value ng x kapag ang ating closed interval ay 0, 2 pi. So, yung mga possible solution natin, x is equals to pi over 3, yung nasa first quadrant. At yung isa naman, yung nasa fourth quadrant, ay value ng x natin ay 5 pi over 3. Okay? So, pwede natin i-verify yon by checking. So, ang ginawa lang dyan ay kinuha lang yung arc cosine 1/2 since ang ating interval ay 0, 2 pi. So, merong isa yung pi over 3 at yung isa naman ay 5 pi over 3. Pwede mo siya i-verify by finding the cosine of pi over 3. Diba? Pag kinuha natin kasi yan, pi over 3, syempre sa calculator yan ay that is cosine 60. So, ang equivalent niya ay 1/2 at yung isa pa ay cosine 5 pi over 3. Sa degree naman yan ay 5 pi over 3. Yan ay nasa 300 sa degree, no? 300 degrees. So, cosine 5 pi over 3. So, 300 nasa fourth quadrant. Isang nasa first quadrant at isang nasa fourth quadrant. So, parehas lang na 1/2 yung kanilang value. Because the period of cosine function is 2 pi, so if we're going to complete the solutions of the equation, so we have the x equals to pi over 3 plus k multiplied to 2 pi. Yan yung isa sa first quadrant. At sa fourth quadrant naman, the value of x is equals to 5 pi over 3 plus k times 2 pi for all integers k. Okay? So, yan ang ating complete solution for the 2 cosine x minus 1 equals 0. Next, example number 2, under pa rin ito ng equations with one term. Find all the values of x in the interval of negative 2 pi, 2 pi. Kapag nasa degree ito, yung kanyang closed interval ay negative 360, 360 degrees. That satisfies the equation of quantity sine x minus 1 and sine x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, for the solution, since yung atin namang given ay in a factor form, naka-factor form na siya. So directly, pwede natin kuhanin ang kumbaga yung equate with 0. Equate with 0. Yung isa ay yung first factor natin, sin x minus 1 equals 0. And the other factor is sin x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, so pag kinuha natin yung first factor, so we have sin x equals 1. Transpose lang yung negative 1. At sa kabila naman ay sin x. Sin x ito, no? So, sin x equals negative 1. So, sa ating closed interval, pwede lang na maging qualified na value ng x dito sa sin x equals 1 or pag kinuha natin siya ay arc sin equals 1 or arc sin 1 ay pi over 2 or negative 3 pi over 2. At doon naman sa sin x equals negative 1 or arc sine negative 1, ay pwede ang value ng x ng 3 pi over 2 or negative pi over 2. So therefore, ang ating mga solutions, pi over 2, comma, negative 3 pi over 2, comma, positive 3 pi over 2, comma, and negative pi over 2. So ito yung mga possible solutions natin na qualify dun sa ating closed interval, negative 2 pi less than or equal x less than or equal 2 pi. And that's it. Okay, equations with two or more terms. We will now consider a group of equations having multi-step techniques of finding their solutions, coupled with the straightforward techniques discussed in the preceding discussions. These more advanced techniques involve factoring of expressions and trigonometric identities. The primary goal is to reduce a given equation into equivalent one-term equations. Okay, under example 3, here is the problem. Solve for x, where x is an element of close 0, comma, open to pi. It means that the value of x is or 0, the 0 less than or equal x less than 2 pi. And the equation is given by 2 cosine squared x equals 1 plus sine x. Okay, for the solution, let us write the given equation. And using the identity, Pythagorean identity of cosine squared x, and that is equal with 1 minus sine squared x. So, ginamitan natin dito ang Pythagorean identity, no? Then, andun pa rin yung 2, bring down 2, and bring down 1 plus sine x. Okay? Next. Then, pwede natin i-distribute ngayon yung 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times negative sine squared x is negative 2 sine squared x. Then, bring down pa rin yung 1 plus sine x. Next. Okay. So, magiging 2 sine x plus sine x minus 1. Kasi ang mangyayari ngayon ay yung 1, itong 1 minus 2, diba? Pwedeng ang mangyayari ay itong nasa right side, pwede nating dalhin sa left side. So, kung siya ay negative sa left side, pagdating sa right side, magiging positive na. Then, yung 2, pag dinala natin sa left side ay magiging, o sa right side ay magiging 1 minus 2. So, 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Then, mapapansin mo, meron tayong 2 sine squared x plus sine x minus 1. And yan ay factorable. So, pwede natin kuhanin ang factor ng ating left side of the equation. And ang factor natin ay 2 sine x minus 1 times sine x plus 1. So, ang pinanggalingan yan, pwede natin gawing let x equals to sine x. Pwede ganyan. Kunyari, ang x natin ay yun ang ating sine x. So, ang mangyayari ngayon ay magiging 2x square plus x minus 1 equals 0. Eh, kapag pinactor natin yan, factorable yan, di ba? Factorable siya with equals 0. So, ang factor niya ay 2x 2x, 2x, and x. Then, 1 and 1 lang naman yun kasi ang last term mo ay -1. So, it's either positive and negative yung dalawa. So, dito mapupunta ang negative sign. Dito ang positive sign. Kasi yung negative 1 times x, that is negative x. And 2x times positive 1, and that is 2x. To add that, minus x plus 2x, that is positive x. Yun naman ang middle term. Okay? Then, since meron na tayong 2 factors, pwede natin gamitin yung law of zero factor. So, paghiwalay natin yung dalawa. Yung isa ay 2 sin x minus 1 equals 0. At yung isa naman factor ay sin x plus 1 equals 0. Then, pwede natin ngayong solve yung individual factor. Sa first factor muna ay magiging sin x equals positive 1/2. At yung other factor ay sin x equals negative 1. Since meron tayong interval, ang interval natin ay close to 0, open to pi. So, ibig sabihin, limited lang yung value ng x natin. Yung isa ay pwede sa pi over 6 or 5 pi over 6. At yung isa pa, yung sin x equals negative 1, pwede naman siya sa 3 pi over 2. Therefore, ang ating solutions, pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 3 pi over 2. Okay? Pag binerify mo yan, ang 5 pi over 6 sa degree yan ay 30. Kaya pag chinek natin, sin 30 and that is 1/2. So check tayo sa pi over 6, then 30 degrees. Ang 5 pi over 6 naman, yan naman ay 150. So 150 degrees sa degree ano. So pag binerify natin, sin 150 and that is also 1/2. So check ulit sa 5 pi over 6 sa radian at sa degree niya ay 150 degrees. Then ang 3 pi over 2 naman, ang 3 pi over 2 ay the same sa 270 degrees. So pag chinek natin yon, sin 270 degrees and that is negative 1. Okay, so check yung tatlo. So ito yung mga pwede nating gamitin na value of x in between 0 up to 2 pi. Okay? And that's it. Next, okay, so pwede tayong magkaroon din ng ng situational problems involving trigonometric equations. Example number 4. The voltage B in volts coming from an electricity distributing company is fluctuating according to the function of V of t equals 200 plus 170 sine of 120 pi t at time t in seconds. So meron tayong 2 questions dito. For A, determine the first time it takes to reach 300 volts. And letter B, for what values of T does the voltage reach its maximum value? Okay, dun muna tayo sa letter A. Determine the first time it takes to reach 300 volts. For the solution, we solve for the least possible value of t such that the function of v of t equals 300. So, ibig sabihin, from the equation, so we have a given equation of 200 plus 170 sine of 120 pi t equals 300. So, ang mangyayari ngayon ay yung ating 200 sa left side, pag dinala natin sa right side, magiging minus 200. Yan. So, makakancel na yan. No? Left and right, pwede natin lagyan ng minus 200. Yan. So, makakancel na to at mapupunta na siya sa left or sa right. And 300 minus 200 and that's 100. Okay? Next, doon naman sa 170, sine 120 over 120 pi t, pwede natin siyang i-all over sa 170, yung nasa left, at yung nasa right naman ay over 170. So, may eliminate na ngayon yung nasa left na 170 at mapupunta na siya sa right side. 100 over 170. Okay? Next in line. Then, kuhanin natin yung arc sine nitong 100 over 170. Then, sa left side, matitira pa rin yung 120 pi over t at yung arc sine. So, ito ay pwede nang maging 10 over 17 kasi eliminate na yung 0, no? So, pag ginamitan natin yun ng calculator, so, kailangan ma-reach natin yung approximate 0.096 seconds. Okay? Or second. Wala pa kasing 1 eh. So, paano nangyari ngayon yan? Okay? Gamitan natin siya ng scientific calculator para ma-verify natin yung answer. Okay? So, gamit tayo. So, ito ngayon ang ating least positive value of time. Wala pa siyang 1. Wala pang approximate 1.1 second. Okay? Pero wala pang 1 second. Okay? So, ito yung ating answer sa letter A. Next, letter B. For what values of T does the voltage reach its maximum value? Okay, for the solution, the maximum value of V of T happens when and only when the maximum value of sine 120 pi t is reached. We know that the maximum value of sine 120 pi t is 1. And it follows that the maximum value of V of t is 300 volts or 370 volts. Thus, we need to solve for all values of t such that sine 120 pi t is equals to 1. Okay, so yun ang ating target ngayon. Itong sine 120 pi t equals 1. So, ang target natin ay for all values of t. Okay, then, pag kinuha natin yung arc sine 1, okay, so kaya natin yung arc sine 1, at ang arc sine 1 ay pwede mo siyang makuha sa pi over 2 or sa 90 degrees. Kasi sa sine 90, ang value ng ating sine 90 ay positive 1. Kung 1 period, Ang 1 period ng sine function ay in between 0 and 2 pi. So therefore, pwede natin gamitin yon. Kaya in general, okay, in general, ang magiging value natin ay pi over 2 plus 2k pi where k is non-negative integers. Then, since ang target natin ay yung time, meron pa tayong 120 pi. So, sa numerator muna natin ay yung arcsine 1. The arcsine 1 is pi over 2 plus 2k pi. Then, sa denominator natin ay 120 pi. Then, pwede nang ma-eliminate yung mga pi. Pwede na siyang ma-eliminate. Kasi factorable naman yung pi. Then, sa denominator, makakancel na rin yung pi. Therefore, ang matitira na lang ay 1 half plus 2k all over 120. Then, pwede natin i-separate yun. Pwede natin gawing 1 half over 120 plus 2k over 120. At ang value ng 1 half over 120 or 0.5 over 120 natin sa calculator natin. Okay. So, okay, so 0.5 divide 120. Meron tayong, ayan, meron siyang times 10 to the negative 3. So, pwede mangyari yan, mag-move lang dito. Kaya it is equal with approximate 0.00417 plus yung 2k over 120 or 2 divides 120. 2 divides 120, the same naman yan sa 0.017. Okay? Ayan. Kaya, ito na yung result natin. This means that the voltage is maximum when T is approximately 0.00417 plus 0.017K for each non-negative integer K. Okay, and that's it.